my full screen now. And I don't see anybody at this point. So just maybe yes or no
Yeah,
on the
we
mic.
see it.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So technology works. That's great. That's great to hear. So basically, to kick everything off and to finalize this amazing week, I've kind of set a tone about digital foundations in 5 key parts. And that's going to be just very basics, but we're going to have a short intro. We're going to talk about trust and brand, target audience, how to grow, and we're going to wrap things up with some materials and templates for you guys to use and hopefully to benefit from when you're growing your digital brand and when you're developing your strategy on digital in general. And now, one note, even though some examples, or actually the 2 case studies that we have here, are from digital sphere, right? So they are from digital artists and NFTs. I really want to make sure that this is applicable to you no matter which path you choose after the academy. So if you decide I want to do traditional art only, I don't want to do digital, this is still going to be highly applicable to you, and I hope it's going to be useful. So before we dive deep into digital foundations and everything that there is to know about digital, maybe a few words about my end, even though I really hate introducing myself. But it's an important part, and it's a topic I'm going to cover as well, on how important the introduction is and how important it is how we introduce ourselves on digital media as well. So I'm going to give it a shot here. So as Zara announced, I'm Klara, and I'm a part of Alice in Blockchains NGO. But I am also working in Google Dublin as a customer growth associate. And what a customer growth associate does here at Google is basically I work with 55 companies from the region, so from Adriatics, meaning Croatia, Serbia, and Slovenia. And we are trying to develop their digital strategies, mostly through paid ads, so mostly through Google Ads, and kind of help them grow with Google Ads, like to increase their revenue, to meet their targets, meet their goals, and so on and so forth. So we talk a lot about digital. How I got in that area, I'm not really sure because it was never really my goal to get into it. And as a kid, what I really wanted was to have something of my own or a business of my own. And why? I guess because I was always looking at my dad, who at his 9 to 5 job always had some side projects. And the side projects that he did were always something that was giving him so much more, I don't know, thrill, so much more excitement, so much more joy than his actual 9 to 5 job. So I was thinking, oh wow, I really want to do something like that full time, right? And so I was thinking, okay, I want to do something like that full time. And what was teenage me thinking back then? How am I going to do it? Okay, I'm going to go into business school. I'm going to study business analysis and business planning. I'm going to study marketing. I'm going to study all that stuff. I'm going to finish college. I'm going to know everything, and I'm going to start my own business, and it's going to be super successful. And I will be a rock star and my own boss, right? Did not really happen that way, right? After finishing the studies, I didn't feel at all confident to, launch something of my own. And kudos to everybody here that did that actually, and that is full-time artist maybe here on the call. But basically, what was my story and what was my side is I was thinking, okay, I'm not ready yet, but how can I be ready, right? How can I learn? So during uni, I went through agency, I went through a bank, I was working in a startup as well, right? So a lot of different things. And I thought, okay, when I finish, then if I'm not going to own my own business, I'm going to be a business consultant. Okay. I'm going to be a business consultant. I'm going to learn, how businesses succeed, how they fail. I'm going to pick up on that, and then I'm going to be ready. I didn't really end up doing that, right? I ended up working in Google in let's say Google Ads consulting. So I didn't expect to be consulting on Google Ads or on marketing or on paid advertising at all. But it's funny how things work out because now I get to learn from some smartest people in the world, but also from 55 of my customers who are actually small and medium businesses in our region that are doing really, really well, right? So that is kind of what is my day to day like and what I do. And hopefully I can share some of the insights that I've found out so far with you here today. On the first slide, there's also my LinkedIn and Instagram. So in case you guys want to connect on any of those networks, I'm definitely down for that. Zara will surely send you my email and other info as well after the call. And as Damir said at the beginning, definitely feel free to reach out at any point in time about any topic that we can help with, and we will be happy to do so. Now, when I said I spied on Damir's lecture as well on storytelling, because I was really interested to see how he presented it to you and to kind of try to figure out how I can, use that as well, and kind of maybe see if some parts are obsolete or some parts are not obsolete. I really, really loved his first part of the session. I wasn't here for the whole thing because I did have some job to finish. But basically, I do want to say that what he was telling you about in the first few, I don't know, minutes, half an hour, is definitely highly relevant, not just, storytelling in immersive environments, but also in classical digital environment, right? And in classical digital advertising and so on and so forth. What you always do want to have is a story. And just to warm us up before we begin, I cannot resist but to not show you one really good example of storytelling as well from Google's side. And I know he showed you a Google video before, but I want to show you one more Google ad that I was only shown today. This ad, I didn't know it existed before today in the morning. So now I'm kind of thinking, it's fate. So I have to show you. And I want to show you one Google ad that is also telling a story. And I want to ask your opinion because maybe I'm biased in liking it. Let me just see if I can find that. Share this tab instead. And the question is, are you seeing everything now okay?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. And here?
Yes.
Hello. Bonjour.
Très très mignon. Allô?
Le commandant et toute son équipe espèrent que vous avez passé un agréable moment.
So just before we dive in, what are the thoughts on the ad? Something you liked, something you disliked? How did you feel? I see Lucia smiling, so I'm gonna call her name.
I don't know, really.
Did you understand the story?
Yeah, it's an ad about Google. I mean, it's for Google, isn't?
Mm-hmm. But maybe somebody else realized what exactly is happening. Who is Googling it? Who is searching for stuff?
They're telling a love story between.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Sorry, having some issues with my video. Yeah, a love story between a foreigner and a French girl, and at first it's a long distance relationship, but then Google helps them overcome all the obstacles, and yeah, they assembling a crib at the end, so they're having a baby. So it's Google is telling us love.
Yes, Google is telling us love, right? It's
Yeah,
a really
like people from Madison Avenue.
yeah, exactly.
Like Don Draper.
Yeah. So basically, why I thought this was fascinating today earlier, is because Natasha also recognized, he met a girl in Paris, right? And his Google searches are basically reflecting their relationship and the stages in their relationship, right? And what I found fascinating is that there were no characters in the ad. Like there was nobody. There was not a guy and a girl falling in love. There was no people shown in the video, right? Nobody at all. But you could still feel the emotions. You could still see how their relationship is developing. You could empathize over the hard part when they are away and they are long distance, and then you can feel really joy when they are getting married and assembling a crib in the end, right? So it's a little bit, fascinating to me how you can definitely convey a really, really strong point and form an emotional connection without even having people in a video, right? In an ad or in your art, right? Whatever it is. So I just wanted to share that one more example of how storytelling can be so diverse. And if you have a good point and a good narrative, you can circle it through basically any product, any service, anything that you're offering, and yeah, convey emotion through it. And I think that's amazing human capability, really. Okay, to continue with the screen sharing. And with why I asked everybody to bring a piece of paper and a pen. It doesn't have to be big. It can be something super small. I have a sticky note here. I'm going to use that. It really doesn't matter. What I want to talk about to you guys at the beginning of this session is trust. And why is trust important in general, but also why trust is important on digital foundations and in your digital channels, in your website, in how you present yourself on digital, and so on and so forth. So before we jump into it, I want to do a little exercise, and I've never done it with an artist group. So maybe let's see how the results go this time. The exercise is called Who Do We Trust? So I want everybody to grab their pen and their paper and draw a straight line on their piece of paper. And kind of try to divide that line from 1 to 10, okay? Kind of similar as here. It doesn't have to be through squares, though. It can be just as a ruler. And mark, 1, 5, and 10 maybe on the line, on the ruler. And I'm gonna name a person or describe a person. And I'm gonna ask you to score how much do you trust that person from 1 to 10, okay? And let's start with a very vague one, which is very personal as well, depending maybe on your life or experiences. From 1 to 10, I want everybody to mark down how much do you trust a stranger on the street. So somebody approaches you to, I don't know, ask for directions or whatever. How much do you trust a stranger on the street? We'll use that as a baseline, kind of. And I don't know if anybody maybe wants to just, you can just randomly shout out numbers as well. Kind of, is it like 5? Is it 2.5? Is it 3? Is it 10?
5.
3,
5.
4,
1, 4. Okay.
1,
Mm-hmm.
4.
Okay. Okay, so very...
In Italy, 3.
In Italy, 3. Good. Awesome. Okay, so stranger is based on personal and cultural experiences. Very well. And it scores, let's say, in some cases 2, some cases even 5, some 3, maybe some even said 1. Okay, awesome. Let's go into another category, and the category is family. Family or partner, right? Somebody very close to you, very close circle. How would you rate that from 1 to 10?
10.
10?
8.
Anybody? Okay.
8.
Family pen, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
9.
And you? 9? Okay.
If
9.
you're close, 9.
Awesome. Everybody's very lucky to be in such high numbers, by the way. I'm aware of that. Mine for family, by the way, is 8.5, just because I know that I can never say anything to my mom without her telling that to my dad. So I'm gonna say 8.5,
I'll
8.5.
be thinking about my partner most. 10
Okay,
for my partner.
awesome. 10 for your partner. Amazing partner. Great. So we had stranger, we had family. How about how much do you trust yourselves?
10.
That's tricky.
Mm-hmm. Tricky for some people. Some very confident. 10. Okay.
8.
10.
8.
Okay. Okay. So
Nine.
quite high numbers. For me personally, it was interesting to see that maybe in some cases I trust my partner or my family more than I would trust myself, right? Because I kind of know how I can expect them to react, right? This is all highly individual though, right? And final question, how much from 1 to 10 do you trust a person on the street with a notepad ready to ask you for a donation or ask you some questions or take a survey? Shouting out.
1.
1.
3.
7.
5.
5.
Mhm. Okay, so how many of you would trust a random person just asking for directions more than you would trust a person that is trying to sell you something on the street?
Same.
I don't trust sellers.
I don't trust sellers. Good. Okay. Any more inputs?
Well, if he has a notepad, it doesn't mean that
Depends
he's selling
on what
something.
he's selling.
Mhm.
Depends on what he's selling. I
Okay.
think.
Depends on what they're selling. Good.
Yeah.
If he has a notepad,
There-
doesn't mean
there-
he's selling something,
There are
correct?
people in the street with notepad like working for Red Cross or for
There's Red Cross.
Doctors Without Frontiers. I don't know what it's called.
Mhm.
I've been approached by these kind of people. I trust them.
Maybe he is artist and he's making drawings.
Maybe he's an artist and he's making drawings as well, right? Okay, so basically, the conclusion here is, right, whilst yourself and your family, your friends, everybody is on the upward specter of the, let's say, scale, the strangers and the people that are trying to sell you something or, you know, offer you something randomly are on the very lower half, nevertheless, except for that one person that was very trustworthy and said 10 right away, which I assume was in case they are from Red Cross, right? So basically, what's the point here? Point is that marketing and sales in general has a trust problem. And when HubSpot did a survey on who do people consider to be trustworthy, this was a global survey. Again, depends highly on culture and where you are and what your personal experiences are. But the general sentiment of the market was that, if you can see on the slide there, at the bottom half with 3% considering to be trusty are people in marketing or people in sales. And this is going to be basically you on your digital channels, right? No matter the fact that you are artists or that you are, I don't know, developing some product that is very helpful, what you are essentially doing on digital is trying to get an audience, right? Get an audience to follow you, get an audience to trust you, and get an audience to buy from you, be it digital art, traditional art, NFTs, and so on. And I wanted to open kind of with this point because it's easy to go into, you know, digital channels and digital strategies, but rarely do we think and talk about trust in that context. And rarely do we acknowledge how important it is, how easy it is to lose it, and rarely do we think about it from that perspective of trust. And this is exactly what I want to kind of talk about today. When, like, one of the first things that you are doing in real life and on digital channels is introducing yourselves. And how you introduce yourself might make or break your relationship with somebody, or might make or break your NFT sale or NFT drop or whatever, like how you introduce the project as well, right? And here's a trust formula that is often used in defining trust. There are multiple formulas you can find online. I like this one for the sake of this argument, but they're mostly kind of revolving around the same thing and around the same three components. And the components are sincerity, competence, and reliability. Sincerity is basically, who are you? What's your story? Why are you here? What do you want, right? Competence is, can you do this? So I don't know, if I'm maybe ordering custom work from you as an artist, like, can you do this? Do I trust you? Have you done this before? Is reliability, right? You can kind of prove to me that you're reliable, and I can put my trust in you by showcasing your previous work, for example, right? The thing with the trust formula, though, is that every component multiplies, if you can see here, which means that if every component multiplies and you leave out one component, the total trust goes to 0. This is a little bit of an extreme, but I do want to kind of convey the importance of covering every single point in this formula. And you can do this and you can really use this to think even about how you introduce yourselves in, I don't know, in a gallery, when you're talking to other artists, or when you're talking to curators, or when you're talking to potential future partner, or when you're talking to a new friend, or when you're talking to your audience on your digital channels. This is always applicable, right? If you think of it from a framework kind of idea, right? So this is what we're gonna start off with, and this is what we're gonna try to intertwine throughout the presentation. And this is what we're gonna try to keep coming back to, is trust. Is this trustworthy? Is this not trustworthy? Why is this trustworthy? What are some components that we can use to build trust on our digital channels as well? And it says that on this slide, so I'm gonna just slowly skip it. At this point, do we have any questions, comments, or wishes? Okay. So to start off with trust on digital, let's first define a digital brand, right? A digital brand is essentially how you present yourself online. It's mostly consists of three components, which is visual identity, voice, and your story. But you can think of it from different perspectives as well. You can add to it, but be sure to not leave out any of these, right? So when we're talking about visual identity, and here I have logos, color schemes, typography, these kinds of things, this may sound not applicable to you as an artist necessarily, right? Unless you're trying to really develop, let's say, a business or a brand, a digital brand, that you want to have a consistent visual identity. But you can kind of draw your visual identity from your, let's say, from your art, right? If your art is a particular style, a particular color scheme, or whatever it is, be sure to also convey that on your website, let's say, how your website is designed, on your digital channels, on your social media. Try to be consistent, right, with it. Then there's voice, which is kind of how you communicate. Are you a person that communicates formally? Are you a person that communicates casually? Are you being humorous? Are you being serious? What is your general tone of voice that you want to kind of stick to, right? Of course, depends on some situations as well. You might want to change up, but what's the general way that you're talking to your audience? And of course, your story, your journey as an artist, in your case, background, if you have a mission or a vision, or any unique perspective that you're offering. This is all an element of your digital brand. And this is all that you want to think of when you're thinking about how you're presenting yourself online. Says here at the bottom, your brand is a promise to your audience, and it needs to be consistent and authentic to build trust. So you need to kind of, pick a path and stick with it rather than change every week or so, right? Where you're creating this mess and inconsistency in how you present yourself. That being said, though, of course, there is the exception of evolving, right? So when you're evolving, don't feel like you cannot change your voice or your story or identity as you're evolving as a brand or as an artist, right? But try to still have some memorable basics that are always you and that are always recognizable as you. So that being said, I want to jump into a case right away. And we're going to talk about Board Ape Yacht Club. So being a week into the Flux Academy now, I assume you already talked about Board Ape Yacht Club in one context or another. Am I right? Or no? Or maybe you didn't?
Yes, yes.
Yes? Okay. So now let's talk about it from a digital perspective, right? So everybody knows what Board Ape Yacht Club is, just in case somebody didn't pick it up. It's basically a brand that is producing NFTs. They are all Bored Apes, or most of them are actually Bored Apes, and they're selling at record prices and at really high prices. Why? Well, they do have a really clear strategy. And I did try to identify the strategy, right? And I did try to kind of pinpoint down identity, voice, and story of Bored Ape Yacht Club for you guys on next slides. But I do also want everybody to take a minute or two and search for Bored Ape Yacht Club on their website and on their social media as well, and try to tell me your thoughts about it. What is their identity? What's their voice? Do they have a story? Like, what are they about? Try to get the info from, the channels that are available to you. So their website, their maybe Instagram or their X, former Twitter profiles, whatever pops to the mind first. I'll give you a few minutes to review, and whoever gets here first can kick us off, and then the rest can contribute as well. I'm gonna also check it out whilst you guys look. I'm gonna look at the website for a moment. Any insights so far? So anything that comes to mind, really, be it about brand, identity, voice.
Yeah, they are like cheeky, confident. They play cool. They're untouchable. They're exclusive, and they're like overbearing. Like they're very important.
Awesome, Tamara. Thanks. Natasha says in the chat, right? Cool. Susan says cool, calm. Natasha said graphics is cool, interactive connection with their other marketing gadget and business, like in a real bar store as well. Okay, yes, that's definitely the case for the website.
Reminds on let us say street art, we may say. Voice can be really casual. Again, it reminds on street. There is it is like something very common.
Yeah.
And
right.
Colors are very, we may say, intensive. I I don't know, big contrasts. It can also remind on comics, things like that. First, when I saw that, I connected that with my students. My students are high school students, and I thought that it was something that was related to them. And later, I recognized that it was something more important. So, I don't know whether we are going to talk about people. That is all interesting contrast. His website and this, but
we'll talk about people as well. Great point, Christina. Great point. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So first thoughts are kind of you guys kind of agree, right? So there is something recognizable, and there is a theme that everybody is kind of able to pick up on, right? So let me go into the first part, and that's I broke it off into 3 slides, let's say. Let me go full screen. Again, I'm gonna be jumping through, so bear with me, right? The first part is identity, right? So what I wanna kind of highlight here, and everything you said is very valid, right? The color scheme is recognizable. They're consistent and unified. They're apes even, so they're NFTs, right? What they produce is also a trait and a part of the identity. They do have a logo, and that logo is present everywhere, so you are unable to confuse their channel for somebody else's. Go on their Twitter profile, go on their not LinkedIn profile. I'm not sure they have LinkedIn profile though. Go on their Instagram profile is what I meant to say. Or on their website, you're always gonna see their logo as well, right? It's kind of their signature for their identity. The colors are, as we said, right, kind of unified and consistent. You can recognize their brand kind of similarly, even in traditional art, right? I don't have to tell you something is Picasso for you to know it's Picasso, right? Not that I'm comparing it to Picasso here, just making a point, correct? So basically, we have an identity, visual identity, a strong visual identity, and that identity is conveyed through all of their channels. It's conveyed through the website, it's conveyed through the Instagram, it's conveyed through the Twitter. What else we have is voice. And that's what you guys caught on straight away, right? On their about page, it even says, a journey through some of the mints, merch, games, events, community moments, and other weird shit that shaped Bored Ape Yacht Club. Their founder, or their proprietor, actually, of Bored Ape Yacht Club, here is on the about side as well. It says, meet Curtis, the proprietor of Bored Ape Yacht Club. He likes beer, occasional cigar, joining the apes on adventures, and starting shit. So they are very casual in their communication. Now, that's an easy catch, right? It's an easy one. What's important, though, is that they're casual in their communication through all of their channels. So I'm not having an Instagram profile where it's like, ladies and gentlemen, or respected viewers, we are here to announce our new NFT collection of, Bored Apes, la la la. And then I come to the website and I see words like shit all over it, right? It's not like that. It's unified throughout channels, and this is what builds trust, right? So if I saw them on Twitter and they were tweeting about Hangover Hang, Good Vibes, Giant Curtis, and Ape Fest events, and I'm interested and I go to their website, I'm going to see the same tone of voice on their website. And that's important to build trust, right? Because if I go from one channel to another and the tone is inconsistent, I'm like, I expected one thing, I got another. I'm probably not going to be too happy about it in the end, right? So that's one thing. Second thing, or third thing, actually, and I kind of bolded it here, like be consistent across channels, definitely, but also have a story, right? And this is some of their what we call unique selling points, or USPs, that they're highlighting on their website, on their socials, and in their communication in general. So what you guys said, right? They are exclusive. They are positioning themselves as a community. They are having very, very strong, unique selling points on their website as well, right? It says, welcome to the clubhouse. They are trying to kind of give you this idea that they are creating more than art. They are creating an exclusive club. They are also then, listing all the communities you can be a part of if you purchase their NFT, right? So they are kind of giving you added value. And they are basically also saying that you are in full power of your NFT once you get it from them. So that means that they have this narrative of empowerment where owners actually have full commercial rights to their NFTs, which means I can buy an NFT from them. And if I have full commercial rights, I can use it as a logo on my wine, if I'm producing wine or whatever that is, right? So they're trying to find ways to add value so that it's more than just an NFT, right? So that it's actually also adding some extra value for the purchaser. Now, the thing is about every single thing that I listed here, that their strategy is actually oriented around their target audience. If their target audience were, I don't know, school teachers, and if their target audience were let's say, I don't know, somebody in very serious industry like insurance, they would definitely not be throwing word shit around in every other sentence, right? So they know that their target audience is in crypto, in blockchain, NFT enthusiasts, digital art fanatics, people that are casual, people that are in the community of digital, and people who are in community of Web3, where that tone of voice actually works. Because for some audience, it might be too, not serious, or too off-putting, or too, I don't know, maybe cocky even sounds, So it really depends on who your target audience is and who you are, and then you kind of try to make a match between those two to find your ideal tone. Speaking of target audience, we'll try to see how we can identify it in the most closest way possible, at least. I can definitely tell you from experience working even with bigger companies, they do not have identified target audience so well in a lot of cases. So it's a hard job, it's a hard task, and it can also change over time, right? But basically it's tricky questions. Who, what, where? Who are they? Like, who are you solving a problem for? Or who is most likely to appreciate your work and your values and relate with your story, right? Is it a Web3 and digital community? Is it, I don't know, is it the kind of art that renters or Airbnbers would buy for their rentals, for example? Is it something that has a deeper meaning or deeper message? Are you speaking to oppressed groups through your art? Who are those groups? Then what are their interests and problems? Like, once you've identified who, it's about what, right? What is interesting to them? What problems they have, and what problems can you solve for? And how can you, in the end of the day, make them happier, or as Damir said, make them less unhappy, right? And then last thing you want to ask yourself is where. Where do they spend their time online? Where will you reach them? Well, where will they find you, right? Is it Instagram? Is it LinkedIn? Is it some NFT marketplace? Is it on websites or on Instagram profiles of galleries? How do you get on a website or an Instagram profile of a gallery? So it's questions like this that you kind of have to ask yourself, put everything down on the paper, and then you can try to build a strategy from it and actually evolve it into something else, into something more. Now, a $69 million question is, what is this?
People.
People.
It's people, right? It's
one day, one artwork every day, I think for 13 years or 15 years. amazing job, and all of them incorporated in this one NFT. But he was building the whole thing for 13 or 15 years, and on his website it is obvious that he made so many jobs with his target audience is amazing. Some artworks are really maybe a little bit stupid, but I think that it was somehow connected with target audience. For example, he was following a presidential campaign, and you can see that on some of his NFTs, you have got, I don't know, some of those characters represented. It means that he expected that target audience who didn't have necessarily to be, let us say, someone from connected with an NFT, may be interested in politics and things like that. That was my opinion.
Awesome. Very, very, very well said and very good perspective. So people sold an NFT for 69, like this sold for 69 million. Okay. And amazing, really, really amazing. And yeah, it was 5,000 days of working on one digital art piece every day for 5,000 days. I don't know, 5,000 divided by 365. Yeah, 13 or 14 years, right, is the number that we're ending up with of work in one NFT, and it sold for 69 million, right? And now I was wondering, because I was making this presentation custom for you. I didn't necessarily do that much art related things before, and I was wondering, like, okay, now if I open this guy's website and this guy's Instagram and this guy's other profiles and channels that he has, will it be what I expect? Like, will I be able to make sense of it? Will I, as a person working in digital marketing, be able to see his strategy or to see his target audiences? The answer is yes. So he was intentional, and he is intentional in how he communicates, where he communicates, who he communicates to. And that's conveyed both through tone, through channels, and through the art itself, as you mentioned before. So that great insight. Now, before I had a break planned after this case, but let's maybe do it before the case. Okay, so we are fresh for Beeple, as he is important in the world of NFTs. So we're fresh for Beeple, and we can take Zara. How long is a break for?
Maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah, it works. 5-6 minutes. Get some water. Stretch a little bit. You've been sitting for a long time today, so it's important to stretch out. And we'll see you in 5 to continue with Beeple case study.
Okay, I hope this was a nice little break for you. Maybe we can continue now.
We'll give a moment everybody to rejoin. But yeah, I hope you did some squats and push-ups in those 5 minutes to get some blood flowing, to wrap this up nicely. Okay, awesome. I was thinking of doing it, and then was like, no, I'm not gonna do any workouts or stretches right now. And then I looked to the other building, as I'm sitting in Google Office right now, and I looked to the other building right across, and there was a person doing squats in between meetings or something, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it as well then. I think it's a signal to start moving a little bit. Okay. Stories aside, let's get back to Beeple, right? So when it comes to Beeple, it's a little bit of a different style than Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? Definitely. Maybe first, again, before we go through each channel and each slide and what I noticed on each one, you can go through it on your own first. I do advise you to see if you can find a little bit more social media this time, to see what he does on different channels, like what's he doing, what's he into, and what's happening where. And I'll give you again a minute or 2 or 3, however you need, before we start going a little bit deeper into it. Shout wherever. I'm gonna not hint anything, so I'm gonna switch slides. But shout out whatever you think you're recognizing. I liked the point about the audience on with his art as well.
Check his clients.
Mm-hmm.
That is fantastic. List of clients that he is working with. Mm-hmm. And considering social media, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Behance, Tumblr, ArtStation, yes. I try to copy that.
Yeah. Variety of channels, okay. Do you see any differences between channels? Like what he does on each channel? Is it different? Is it the same content, copy-pasted? Like what is he doing?
I went on Instagram. I was checking on Instagram. I noticed all those everydays that were represented over there. Behance, I think also I checked Behance. It was the same thing. So he's repeating all those images that I incorporated in that particular NFT on different sites, we may say, channels. Yeah. But something that I liked so much are those videos that he's making, animations that he's making, and also I was impressed with his clients. Mm-hmm. So my observation was that before this event, the moment when it was sold, he did a great job connected with social network. He was building his clients for years. It was all planned. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the first exhibition was maybe 2 years ago or something like that. He didn't have exhibitions in the real galleries before. Mm-hmm. So that's also interesting. Mm-hmm. And also I checked, I don't know where is it at this moment, but I checked all those platforms programs that he is using. So he's combining those 3D options, programs that are used in let us say for videos. I think I'm not familiar with making video games, but I think that I noticed that some of those programs are related to that, something like a Photoshop, something like that. Yes. So.
Good point. Okay. Anybody else has an insight they'd like to share?
Yes, he has the best clickbait for his newsletter, and I'm gonna immediately I immediately
What
signed.
did he say? What
Join-
made you sign up?
I'm sending a screenshot in the email in the chat. Join over 2 billion people who have subscribed the shit out of this mailing list and immediately became instantly hot AF. In many usličnika.
Many exclamation points. Yeah, awesome. Okay, did you share already? Okay, let me check. Oh, I have to. I really don't know how to use Zoom. Okay, yeah, join over 200 billion people who have subscribed the shit out of this mailing list and immediately became instantly hot AF, like as fuck, I guess, and exclamation points. Yeah. Yeah. Join news on upcoming drops, free shit, and other cray crap, right? That's his communication. Now, although I chose two platforms that use this kind of language, it does not mean that you have to use it. It's absolutely your choice, depending on who you're speaking to again. But yeah, definitely a cool one. Okay, anybody else has anything to add that they found cool or interesting?
I think he's constantly trying to provoke us, and provocation is like his main goal. And in that way, he engages in his art. His art is not so special in any way. It's like a caricature or cartoons that other artists also do. But what he does is he always puts some provocation and a big one. Something that is recent, something that is popular, something that is dividing people, and he's counting on that to engage us in his art. I think
very good. He also has a good timing in doing that, right? So he does it when it's happening. So and he has a huge competitive advantage because of this, right? Because he's creating art in a way that he's creating one every day. He can create whatever is most relevant in that day to most of his target audience. Like his audience in real time, right? In real time, and with art, which is mind-blowing actually, in terms of capability to be actually able to do that, right? But then again, that depends on your format, right? His format allows him to do that and to use it as a competitive advantage. Your format might not allow you to. Maybe it takes you a year or a half a year to make an NFT, for example, let's say, right? Or any type of art, really. Or it takes you days, or it takes you weeks, or however long, right? So you cannot act immediately when something is happening, right? But what you can do is still talk about it and share a process of it, right? So if you do want to kind of copy people in that way, to be relevant every day to your audience, no matter what's happening in their lives that is relevant to them right now, you don't have to produce the full content that day, right? You can share a process. You can start sketching or start building something in Illustrator or in Adobe or whichever program you're using in digital media, or in a sketchbook, and you can kick it off, start a conversation. There will be definitely curiosity then, as well, as it's not finished work, so we don't know which way it's going. You might want to use it to start a discussion about a topic, right? But just try to be as relevant to your audience as possible. People does that through daily posts, and that's like, let's be honest, that's extreme, right? That's really extreme to produce a piece every single day. I believe it's also quite exhausting. I don't know how he does it, especially continuously after so many years, right? But definitely try to think of how to stay relevant for your audience. And that doesn't have to be through daily posts. That doesn't have to be through I don't know, connecting about topics that are happening right now, like politics or whatever. That can simply be about your audience's problem or your audience's wishes, right? And you speaking to those problems or wishes or aspirations that they have through your content consistently, right? And through different angles, through different perspectives, so that you stay on top of mind, but you don't have to go through that maybe pressure if you're not ready for it to deliver actually something every day, or to post even every day, right?
I have one comment. Well, I usually think that it is him, and probably that he is totally organized person to make all of this. But there is also an option, because, for example, Olafur Eliasson, Koons, Jeff Koons, or Ai Weiwei, they have a group of people. They have the whole factory of people who are working for them. So it is probably also possible that he has some artists who are involved in all of this. Maybe on the beginning it was only him, but at this moment, because he's still here, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Good point. Good point. So we're going back to the topic of trust now, right, Christina? Right? Do we trust it? Do we think it's really him and only him posting every a piece of art every day for 20 years or 15 years or 30
great
years? Oh,
artists
sorry,
had a
Maya.
group of people.
Sorry,
No?
yeah?
In the past, great artists had a group of people working for them, like Michelangelo, and they signed it. It was their work, but they had a group of people. The big artists that do big things, they have a group of people. I don't see it, but he's the brand. No?
Good point. So they might have a group of people, but he's the brand, right? He's the one signing it. So you still might be inclined to buy, right? Awesome points, everybody. Really great. So basically, when we're talking about this, right? What we got into a really philosophical almost discussion now, right? Over trust, who's doing it, how they're doing it, and so on and so forth. We talked about relevancy, right? How he's staying relevant for his audience, and in a way, if we're not talking about real life or real world events, you can also plan, right? You can produce content in advance, even maybe if it's process of you creating a piece of art, right? Like those process videos that you're seeing maybe on social media. Maybe it's a piece of art from different angles, and you can actually leverage modern scheduling platforms as well and schedule it in advance, so it doesn't have to be like consistency through every day, but I don't know, say, okay, every Monday or every 2 Mondays I'm gonna produce, plan, and schedule content for my social media channels for the following 2 weeks. And I don't want to look at my phone for the following 2 weeks, for example. Not the best because you're not able to interact with the audience in the real time. But in terms of producing content, definitely a possibility, right? So you can definitely schedule and plan in advance. As I said, people's example of every day posting something is definitely very extreme, right? But what I want to go back to, and what may be very eye-catching to me, is that he really, really, and truly does have a multi-platform strategy. And I chose here 4 platforms that he's using. And I want to kind of go through each one and talk about how he's using it. Because from my perspective, it's very clear on what's happening on each platform, right? So he actually even went one step further, which can sometimes happen but doesn't have to be the practice. He is actually having almost every channel divided by audience, except maybe like Instagram and Tumblr and some other channels that are very visual oriented, right? So he's posting just his art there on multiple channels like this. But he also has channels where he is conveying something different, right? And where he's saying something different, and maybe it's not just his art. So my perspective, is as follows. When I look at his Instagram or any platform that is basically having displaying only his art and only his work, or mostly his art and mostly his work, might be more correct way of saying it. I can kind of tell who his target audience is, right? His target audience here on his Instagram page, when somebody lands there, are art enthusiasts, digital art collectors, general fans of digital creativity, right? Nobody that's not really a fan of these topics is gonna be inclined maybe to follow that type of channel where there are already produced NFTs or digital art pieces, and there is very little context around it, right? So he's targeting there somebody that's already quite close to the field. He does regularly post the daily arts creation, right? And often, as you guys said, it's really focused on surreal, futuristic, and pop culture driven themes. Last one was Elon Musk catching the rocket as the launch was, or as the landing was successful for his project, right? So he also shared on that, presenting Musk as this huge guy who caught a rocket with his bare hands as well, right? And he's generally sharing something visually striking that's fit for the platform, and the platform is primarily visual, right? So he knows what he's doing here, kind of. I'm not going to get into details here around the strategy, but you have it on every slide. So if you want to go afterwards and kind of read more here, you can definitely do so. But that's Instagram, right? Then we have Twitter. Twitter is a different target audience. Twitter is about crypto and NFT enthusiasts, investors, and collectors. Why? Because on Twitter, he is focused on engaging with that particular community. So he will go and comment on the NFT and crypto community's posts. He will reshare things that he thinks are interesting. He will critique things that he disagrees with, or he will promote things that he agrees with. He will promote also his, future drops there, and maybe have some special announcements, right? He's basically having real-time conversations on Twitter, whereas Instagram is more of a display platform for him, right? I'm displaying my art here, but this is maybe the focus group where I want to really use my time to actually engage with people, right? And to actually engage with this particular niche, which are crypto and NFT enthusiasts and investors, which are maybe, and probably for him, the most inclined target audience to actually go and buy an NFT for $69 million, right? And then along with Twitter, we have YouTube. YouTube is a bit different. And what I will share definitely is that he's not been posting on YouTube for a while now. Okay, so he moved away from that platform. And that's also perfectly fine, right? You realize maybe it's not getting you the incremental value that you thought it would get you. And then you say, okay, I'm maybe going to slow down on it, or this platform, or I'm going to ignore this platform going forward, right? So that's what kind of he did on YouTube. But a few years back, like 4 or 5 years, he would regularly post on YouTube. And what he posted on YouTube was his process. He posted how he is, like a screen recording, full screen recording of how he is creating the digital art that he is presenting and selling, right? And the target audience here, for me, again, very clear. It's digital artists. Like, who other than a digital artist themselves is going to watch a 5 or 10 minute sped up video of him being in Illustrator or in whatever program and creating the NFT, right? So he produced a special content for the artists as well, right? So he's really, really thinking about it, right? This is not the kind of thing that happens accidentally. Oh, he accidentally covered all the audiences on all the most relevant channels. No, he thought about it. Like, he did it intentionally, right? And that's what I also want you to think about, is be intentional. Know your audience, know where they are, know what you want them to do, and know how you will best speak to each of these audiences on each of these channels, right? So YouTube is very, very clear here in his case. And then last but not least, we have Discord, right? Discord is, for those not familiar, kind of like WhatsApp, let's say. It's a chat app, basically. And this is not something that's publicly available as well, which is also important to note. I think he switched from Discord to something else a year or two ago because there was a safety incident with his Discord account. If I remember correctly. I'm not sure if I remember correctly, so don't hold me accountable for that statement, but I think so. But basically the point is that he also had a channel and has a channel where he is talking directly to his exclusive community, to his NFT buyers, to people who actually got something from them. And he has created a special space for them to actually, say thank you, to be able to give them heads up on other drops, right? To basically do direct remarketing We talk about it as like, oh, it's a community, right? It is a community and it's great, but it's also definitely his direct remarketing channel. Like in one group chat, I have every person who has ever purchased something from me. If they like it, they are definitely the ones that are most likely and most easy to buy from me again, right? So I have a direct remarketing list like that, just by creating a group chat, right? Also very intentional though. What Lucia mentioned here on the chat, on the call as well before, right, was the newsletter. Newsletter is also, let's say, a free tool you can use. You can have it on your website, right? You can collect people's emails. You can do it for free, and then you will have a base of people that are already, were on your website, liked you enough to leave you their details, their contact details, their email, and you can definitely use that as well to actually communicate with them later about important drops, about sales, about I don't know, whatever it is that you want them to know. But you have to have a base. You have to have those people somewhere. You have to know who they are. You have to know how to reach them, right? And that's what Beeple's doing very intentionally. And best of all, these are not the only channels that he has, right? These are just the ones that I picked out, right? He has more platforms, more profiles. And it's insane how much work can go into that actually, and it's definitely like a full-time job for a team of people to do that with a quality, but you can definitely also do a part of that on your own for start. And I'm gonna later on give you a few materials and resources to kind of help you get started with planning and whatever might be interesting to you. They're going to be very, very simple documents for you to have a place where you can write down your thoughts and define your strategy for social media if you decide to go that way. Okay, so key lessons, right, from Beeple's strategy: platform-specific content, which, by the way, doesn't have to be a thing. I listed it here because it's what he does. But you can also have same content through different platforms, but different content types for each audience, right? So let's say on YouTube, not on YouTube. Let's say like this: I'm one person. I'm a one-man band. I cannot have 10 social media channels. It's impossible for me to maintain, right? It's impossible for you to maintain. I will have 2 for start. I will have, let's say, Instagram, and I will have Twitter or X, right? And how am I going to leverage that one channel to fit every audience? Well, I'm going to have different content for each audience profile. So let's say I am only on Instagram and I want to focus on both people that are liking digital art, but I also want to focus on people that are digital artists, or I want to educate digital artists. So I might want to share my final results, but for the digital artists, I might want to share how to video or a process, So it can also be, less channels, but just more different types of content to fit each audience type, and you are still covered, right? That's my point. Like, it does not have to be always this extreme, right? Okay, target audience differentiations we covered, and community engagement we definitely covered as well. He's doing that directly through Discord and through Twitter, or actually X. I don't know about you, I have never gotten used to saying X as a social media platform. It's gonna stay Twitter in my vocabulary probably forever. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be like very very honest there. I added an extra here on what you can do, especially if you have only 1 or 2 channels, right? You might not have, like, the more channels you have, the more reach you have as well, right? The more audience you've reached, the more people in total, right? Because not everybody is on the same platform, right? So while it's good to have many, many different platforms, it's, again, sometimes impossible if we're just one person. So what you do want to think about if you have, let's say, only Instagram, is how are you going to get incremental reach on your Instagram? How are you going to reach more people on your Instagram profile, on that one network or 2 networks that you have? And definitely one good point is through collaborations and cross promotions. So when I'm saying collaborations or cross promotions, I mean art influencers, or cross-discipline collaborations. So let's clarify each one. In the art category for you, I kind of listed out traditional and digital artists. And both traditional and digital artists can partner with influencers, curators, or galleries who have already a strong following on platforms like Instagram, YouTube, right? And then this gallery or this curator or this influencer or another fellow artist, by the way, you now have a network through Flux. Use the network, reach out to other fellow artists here that you met on the course who have a similar style, or you share something with them, or you admire them in some way, right? And you can definitely also do cross promotion. So one person can repost your content, right? You can have an interview together. You can discuss an important topic together on your social media. It's all about being exposed to different audiences and to leverage your connections to actually use them to, reach another set of audience that you haven't had the opportunity to talk to before and to convey your thoughts to. And then the other side of the coin is definitely traditional brands. This is maybe more if you're kind of big enough, right? So that a fashion designer, a musician, filmmaker, or a brand like Nike or, just a big company would be interested in collaborating with you on a project where you can actually showcase your art, right? This is kind of a business partnership. And this is something you can also proactively approach. Okay, if you are going to write to Nike's Instagram profile that you want to collab with them, probably you're going to be talking to, I don't know, like student who is managing their social media account, and you're not going to get anywhere with that, right? But if you reach out to a small private gallery on Instagram, and you know that probably their owner or their curator or somebody is running that account, you can also definitely step in contact and discuss possible partnerships and collaborations. Like, don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to do that, right? The worst that can happen is they will say no, and you lost 10 seconds in writing that initial text and starting that interaction, right? And now, everything that I talked about before is kind of related to organic growth, right? It's related to how you can grow without actually paying for it, how you can adapt to your audiences, how you can create content, how you can collaborate with brands and other creators and so on, right? And that's organic. That's something we call organic growth. So it happens naturally because of the activities that you're doing. However, sometimes that takes a lot of time, right? And there is a lot of competition as well on digital channels. Like, a lot of other artists or a lot of other people are gonna fight for the same target audience and for their attention as well. And also then there's this frustrating fact that algorithms in social media keep changing, right? So Instagram prefers pictures one day, then videos the other day, then it's videos that don't have a clear ending, and that it's videos that, get a click to your profile that are being preferred and pushed more upwards in the algorithm. Then there is, it's constantly changing, and it's actually exhausting physically and psychologically to keep track of these changes, right? But then again, there is a way that you can, let's say, avoid that while growing your social media accounts, and that's through paid growth, right? Through investment in some digital channels that are gonna get you that reach and that growth faster, as long as the trust is satisfied, as long as I don't click on your ad and end up on a profile that has nothing to do with I just read on the ad, right? As long as I don't go from your Instagram to your website and you lose all credibility because you're showing me something different on the website that I didn't expect to be there, right? So just be mindful of that part, right? But you can definitely consider also paid growth, especially on more upper funnel channels for reach, like Meta or YouTube, where you can definitely have quite large reach quite quickly and actually quite cheaply, depending, of course, on the market that you're targeting. But that's now going into details. The point for paid advertising, though, is that people buy the same way no matter the product. So if it's art, or if it's, I don't know, a new phone, or if it's a water bottle or whatever I need, I am buying it kind of through the same process, right? The process is called a funnel, and probably a lot of you have heard about this concept. It's a marketing or a sales funnel. People present it differently, like with different stages, but these are kind of the main 5 that I think are the most relevant. And first stage is awareness. So in order to buy from you, I need to be aware that you exist. Period. Like very simple, right? Then it's consideration. So I know you exist, but then I wonder, who are you? What are you offering? What are you solving for? Are you relevant to me, right? So then I'm in the consideration phase. Maybe I'm following you on Instagram, but I'm not ready to buy your art yet because I'm not sure I would like it, or I'm not sure what I get from it, right? So this is kind of the place in the funnel where you're convincing your audience and kind of trying to talk to their problems and talk to their desires in order to get that conversion. When we say conversion, we mean a purchase, or whatever you define as a conversion, really. Sometimes a conversion for you can be a purchase, but a conversion for you can also be somebody leaving you your email, or somebody leaving you their phone number, somebody leaving, like following you on Instagram, and start to keep track of you there, right? So it's whatever you define, basically. But let's say it's the deepest possible conversion. The deepest possible conversion is purchase, right? So I bought something from you. I actually left money in your bank account, right? And then once I did that, the last two things, it's really, really, really hard to achieve, right? Loyalty and advocacy. Loyalty being the fact that I will come back and buy from you and not somebody else, right? And advocacy, that I will actually recommend you to other people. And how you build these two is not about the product you're selling. It's not about how amazing your art is. It's about what is the added value. Like, what other than amazing piece of art did I get? Like, what's the added value? Like, for Board Ape Yacht Club, it's a community, right? It's access to events in person, it's access to different channels, so on and so forth. For you, it might be something more simple that doesn't require that much. Maybe it's an online community, right? But it needs to definitely be something that will add value to your work. And when I say add value, I mean also something that will solve your target audience's problems or desires, right? So if I want to talk constantly to Web3 people and be in the loop about that, or if I bought an NFT from you and that allowed me to get, I don't know, weekly email updates from you on, I don't know, whatever that NFT was about. Let's say it was about oppressed groups or something, right? And then I'm buying an NFT, but I'm also buying education, right? So I get a weekly update on something that's important to me, and I relate with it, right? So think about things like that. Those are the things that build loyalty and advocacy, especially in digital art. It's a little bit of a different scenario than when we're talking about traditional art. People are actually looking for added value. Like, what's the extra mile that you're taking from them, right? And I do want to leave us enough time to have a discussion and questions. So this is just a quick overview that I'm not going to go through in detail now, okay? But it's basically channel choice based on goals for paid advertising, though, okay? And there's only one point that I want to make here, actually. And the point is, it doesn't matter what's the channel. What matters is what's the goal. So you can use Google, for example, let's say Google and Meta, right? You can use both of those channels for all three goals. It just depends on what is your choice of campaign type, let's say. So if it's awareness and reach, you might want to set up a paid advertising campaign on Meta that is just targeting a select audience, and that's it. Like, the only thing you care about as a goal in that campaign is that you're showing it to people and that people see it. So you just select that in the settings. You don't select anything related to me interacting with it or me actually buying it. You just want me to know about it, right? You just want me to see it. Same for Google, right? You don't want to be, if you're creating awareness, you don't want to be on search. Search is high intent, right? I'm already searching for something. So you want to catch me on another Google channel, which is YouTube, where you want to just show me that you're there, right? And you want to make me see your video or make me see your ad, right? So it's the same for every other part. And I did leave you a little matrix here, but we can definitely have a separate session on paid advertising once you guys get kicked off, and if you want to go in that direction. But it's a bit more of a complex topic, so I'm not going to go too much in depth for today. Trust reminder again. If I clicked on your ad and I did not end up where I expected, you will not get me to buy. You will not get me to convert. I will lose trust. I will not come back. I will think of you as a scam. There are also a lot of, scam projects in the world of digital art, in the world of digital in general, right? And if you don't convey trust, you are basically off the list, right away. Like, it's very, very simple. So try to always be consistent and try to always be trustworthy in that regards. So what do we need as a conclusion, right? We need a clear story, voice and branding. We need to know our audience. Who are they? Where are they? What they want, right? We need to have a website that highlights our unique selling points. How are we different? What do we offer? What's the added value? And we also need to have social media channels that are consistent with our branding and that are consistent with the rest of the platforms that we're using and the communication there. And a plan, right? A plan for growth. How are we going to get there? What are our goals? What are short-term goals? What are long-term goals? What do we want to accomplish? With who? In what period? How are we going to do it, right? It's basically, let's say, gets to what and how. What do you want to do? And how are you going to achieve it, right? That's your plan. And with that, I'm going to wrap up with a template. I have at the end of the presentation that Zara gonna kindly send you after this session is done. I did put out 3 links with links to just like literally Word documents, right? Share this tab instead. I hope you see it. And it's basically a Google Doc. And it's a doc for all 3 parts that we covered today, right? It's a doc for brand, it's a doc for audience, it's a doc for growth strategy. This kind of trying to guide you through questions, like asking you questions that you can reply to either in the doc directly or somewhere in your notes, that are hopefully gonna help you get you a little bit closer to your goals. Based on what we talked about today. So there are 3 templates like this that you can use. You have view rights by default to this document. All you need to do is to go to File and make a copy and copy it to your own Google Drive. And once you've copied it, you are able to edit it, and it's then absolutely your own. Nobody else can see it, and you can work inside the doc. Okay? So I hope that will help out a little bit. But yeah, thank you definitely for the time. And let's talk. I don't know if there are any questions, comments, or anything that you would like to wrap up the session with. I'm all ears.
This is great.
I have a
Great.
question.
Okay. Any other?
Fantastic.
I have a question.
Go, Sonia.
What are your thoughts about 2 target audiences with different languages? I am Brazilian. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, and I'm in Berlin. And I decided that my Instagram would be in English.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine said, I think you should post in Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't see myself posting in the 2 languages. I think it's too much. What do you think about that?
Mm-hmm. Amazing question. Often asked question in more communities than you would think, not just art. So look, there are 2 ways to go about it. Either decide what's most important and what's a priority right now. Do you want to position yourself first in Brazil and then go global after that, right? Or do you want to start global right away? A good thing to check for also is, like, if we already have an existing, I was a statistics tutor for a long time, so bear with me. We already have an existing pool of data. Pool of data is your current Instagram followers and current people that are engaging with your Instagram post. Who are they? are they mostly Brazilian or are they mostly international, right? And you can kind of, analyze the data and find the answer there, right? If it's mostly Brazilian people that are engaging and interactive, like you want to have more of that, like, of course, as much more interactive community as possible and engaging community as possible, you might want to switch to Brazilian, right? They might be even more inclined to interact then, right? Feel even closer to you. If it's mostly international community interacting, then your friend's opinion is biased because she is Brazilian and thinks your audience is Brazilian as well, right? So try to go from that first. If the answer is equal, then you can definitely switch as well. Like, it's not prohibited to post in multiple languages. So you can definitely have your Instagram caption in both Brazilian and English. You can even combine maybe the languages and encourage your international followers to try to figure out one word in Brazilian, let's say. So you can do that. And then if you're doing videos, you can do them in Brazilian, but with English captions. So you're doing them in the language that is your native and your audience maybe prefers, but you're also giving the internationals opportunity to connect with you. So many different ways to go around. There is no bad or good strategy, but it just depends kind of on your data.
Okay.
I hope this helps a little bit.
Yes. Thank you.
Awesome. Anybody else? You can also ask me later in the chat. I know it's a long week for you guys, and you might be tired. So if anything does pop out during the week, I'm definitely there to reply in Telegram, or I don't know, through whatever media is best for you. But if anybody still has live questions, I'm here.
Thank you. It was a beautiful and insightful presentation. A lot of information. I was just wondering one technical thing about your presentation. How did you create that the letters are in motion? What software did you use?
It's Canva. It does it automatically for you. Okay, it's Canva. I'm not. Listen, I'm not an artist. I'm not a creative person here. Okay, this is not my job. Is numbers. My job is numbers and stories. Like that. That's kind of where I come from. But what I used is Canva. Canva.com. It's free. You can buy a pro version as well. And what you have here on the left-hand sides are templates. And you can select a template and it will basically kind of show you how your presentation should look like all the slides. You can just change the content and all the animations and everything is already there. So just adjust it a little bit, but it's really easy.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
More questions? I'm still here. And if not, I'll let Zara wrap up if there is silence.
Ask something?
Yeah, go.
I was thinking about selling art. Do you recommend when we sell in different web shops or different pages, how do you price consistent? Because is it better to maybe sell on one platform or web shop like with cheaper things, or is it good to mix, or is it good how to gain trust with the pricing, because people not everybody can buy all kinds of things, so you have to adapt to different customers. How do you do that?
Awesome question. Actually have a business example here where I had a client and their results on Google Ads were dropping significantly and we could not figure out why. And it was nothing that's changed in their strategy on Google Ads, like how they do their ads or whatever. So it was very, challenging and confusing to figure it out. And then we realized it's because they introduced Amazon as well as a channel of their sales. And the thing was that on their website, you could buy their product, whatever it was, you could buy their product for a certain price. The delivery was, because they were the ones handling it, right? The delivery was 7 working days. And it was costing, I don't know, 10 euros for this example. And on Amazon, they could buy the same thing, have free shipping and have it in 5 days, or have €5 shipping and have it overnight shipped. So, when we realized and it took us a time, to realize, especially me, like I have 55 customers. I don't get into everybody's business in that much detail, right? So it was like, okay, do you guys see the problem right here, right? So why is nobody buying from your website? And on their own website, they had a bigger margin. So what we had to do was make sure that their pricing is consistent, right? So either they drop their price on their website or up their price on Amazon. And of course, for you, it's going to be different profitability according to the platform and the margin the platform has. But what does need to be consistent, especially if you want to focus more maybe on one platform, is to have, from the user perspective, everything consistent or better or like cheaper on your end than on a third party, right? So it's important what's profitable for you, right? So if you want to bring more customers from your original website, because that allows you to also maybe have their data, right? And you don't have their data if they're on Amazon, like buying on Amazon, right? So then you have to have something better, right? It's a better offer on your own website than you have on Amazon, right? Because otherwise people are going to choose Amazon, because also what Amazon has and your website maybe doesn't have is trust. Amazon is a trusted platform. I know if I order from Amazon, I'm going to get it the next day, right? So while it's good overall to have multiple channels, especially as you're starting off and maybe your own page doesn't have that much trust, long term, you want to look at price being consistent through channels and or your channel having a better deal than the retail, like resellers, let's say.
I have a question.
Go.
No one mentioned promoters. And there are some people who are promoting artists, and usually you have to pay for them. And or I don't know, is there a kind of auction? How do you find them? But just by coincidence, I know that they exist. I'm talking about NFT, but also in real life they are existing. But considering NFT.
Okay, this would be something that under my presentation falls under collaborations. So when I talk about influencers, I talk about promoters. Like it's basically the same thing. And if it's a person or it's a platform, it doesn't matter. Like whatever has the best possible reach for your target audience, like wherever you think you're going to get the most of. If you think you're going to get better results if you partner with a person and have promotion through them, right? Be it paid or not paid, then that's great. But maybe you think you will have better results if you pay a large platform, let's say, right, that will then promote or repost for you. So it's definitely an option. It's definitely something to consider. It's fairly easy to do as well, right? But what you do have to have in mind is who you are partnering with. Is this a reputation risk for you as well? Like, are they to be trusted? Is this gonna actually bring you more trust and a better community, or is this gonna possibly harm you in the future? Like, because you're also partnering with somebody, even if it's just for a few posts, you do need to be careful about who you choose as your partner, because you don't want to be associated with somebody who is untrustworthy or is deemed later on in the community to, not be a good fit. So just be sure that you align with the person or the platform that you are choosing to promote you. So don't go for anything or anyone. Be sure that you are aligned, you trust that platform, that person, and you want to be really associated with them, and not just go to them because they have the highest reach.
I think that is true for those galleries that you pay for. That they're called vanity galleries.
Vanity Fair, vanity
Yeah,
galleries. Yeah.
you pay for the space in the wall. They don't promote you because they already got your money. They're not in their work is not promoting you to sell you, because they get their money renting space in their walls. So being associated with such a gallery is not good for you. If you have that on your CV, it's bad.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, definitely think of it however it's applicable to you, right? You can connect it with traditional art as well, but yeah, it's the same logic, right? It applies everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's online or offline. What you want is to be partnered with somebody that you can be, you can proudly say you've partnered with them, and not just, be there for the position or for the reach, right? Especially when it comes to partnerships. Because reach, you can also on digital, it's easy to get reach. You pay for it. Like you start a Meta and a YouTube campaign, reach, like done. Everybody saw it. You can choose the target audience. You can choose the audience by affinities on Google, for example, and on Meta as well, where you can actually choose to show your YouTube ad to an audience that is in market for art, for example, or in market for digital art, which will mean that my YouTube ad will show to anybody who in the past 30 days has searched or visited web pages or sites related to digital art. Amazing. Target audience hit, right? So in terms of that, like, be sure to, on digital especially, like, partner with somebody that's really an added value for you again. Because reaching an audience on digital, if you have a budget for it, even a smaller budget for paid advertising, is easy, right? So in terms of partner, be really, really picky. Anything else I can help you with today? Okay, Zara, I think we'll wrap up for the day. I do want to thank everybody for bearing with me on a Friday evening. I am impressed, definitely impressed, and yeah, and congrats on finishing. I guess the Flux week. I guess it's been quite quite a ride, and a lot of sessions, a lot of information for you probably. But I do want to say thank you for listening to me on a Friday evening. I mean, incredible. Like, who there is no better audience to wish for than the one that sticks with you for 2 hours on a Friday night after having been to listening to Damir for 3 hours before me. So thanks, guys. It was a pleasure, and do reach out for anything with any questions. Telegram group is also here for any questions about the lecture, and do use the resources that Zara will share. On the very last slide, there are links for the documents that I mentioned, so feel free to dig around and explore. That's it from my